Greetings, algo artisans. Bitcoin is going down.
I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here.
Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
I think it's just temporary. We're going to talk about what might happen on the charts today in our video, Why is Bitcoin Going Down? FTX Selling Assets. Before we get into it, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're following this on X, please follow my profile and like the posts. All right, so we're going to jump right into this. There's an article here on CoinDesk and it talks about FTX. In fact, here's the headline here. FTX sold about $1 billion of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF, explaining much of the outflow according to sources. So we've covered this a couple of times in the last week or so. When Bitcoin moved up because of the ETF announcement, and widely that move, you could argue, took months. I mean, there was a lot of bullish energy because of that pending news. And when it happened, this was a sell the news event, at least temporarily. And this was something I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, that we might see a move down as that happened. Well, here's the chart. And you can see here that right where these wicks are, this crazy price action right on the top, that's where the announcement was made. And within hours, really, the price started to fall. And it went all the way up at about 49,000. It is now currently trading at 39,400. That's pretty remarkable. What is that? Gosh, that's about 20% fall within a few days. And again, I did think this was going to happen, and I didn't think it required any kind of news. I usually am able to look at things on the charts and tell if something is going to happen beforehand, at least have a probabilistic scenario of things happening. And again, if you watch my videos going back quite a ways, this event, this sell the news scenario, is something I've been very vocal about. I do think that price will stop falling at some point, and we're going to talk about that shortly after we get back into this article and review it. So look, here's the way that Grayscale works. And again, I covered this before, but I'll briefly explain it. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust was a company, well, really is, but at the time it was a trust. It owned a lot of Bitcoin, and then you could buy stock in that trust and own a piece of that company. And that way, when the company's value rose because Bitcoin rose, you would get a piece of that. And then Grayscale had it was a discount to NAV and a premium to NAV. And that's fancy language for saying that the amount of increase you would get for buying Grayscale at the bottom was usually bigger than if you just bought Bitcoin, right? And then the amount of gains that you would get for selling it at the top was usually bigger than that for Bitcoin. So the price moved much more quickly in a proportionate manner. Okay, so a lot of people were interested in Grayscale just for that reason, and most people were getting into Grayscale, in my opinion, because they didn't really know how to buy Bitcoin. They didn't want to deal with getting a wallet, and they could just go and buy it on the stock market, basically. So a lot of these companies, when the ETF was announced, a lot of these companies were actually selling their Grayscale positions to take advantage of that premium. And at that point, the Grayscale trust had been converted into an ETF. So when that happened and people redeemed their positions at Grayscale, they had to go ahead and had to go ahead and sell some of their Bitcoin to actually pay for those redemptions, right? So you own a piece of Grayscale, you wanted to sell it. Where's Grayscale going to get the money? They can't just send you Bitcoin. They actually have to sell their holdings. And when that happened, according to Willy Woo, they had suspected, right? They know the Grayscale wallets, and they saw Grayscale was moving Bitcoin to what they suspected were Coinbase wallets. And when you take coins or anything and you sell it on a large exchange like that, you're going to push the price down. And that is why, according to certain theorists, why Bitcoin did have a drop in the price after the ETF was announced, because a lot of people thought ETF would be something that would push the price up, and temporarily it did, and I think it will in the long term, but this is what happened. So let's get into the article. Investors have sold more than $2 billion worth of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust since it was converted into an exchange-traded fund earlier this month. A large chunk of that exodus was FTX's bankruptcy estate, dumping 22 million shares, according to private data CoinDesk viewed and two people familiar with the matter. A slew of spot Bitcoin ETFs began trading on January 11th, while the new funds issued by the likes of BlackRock and Fidelity have seen inflows. Billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin have been pulled out of GBTC. The data CoinDesk saw suggests FTX accounted for much of that. The 22 million shares it sold, which took FTX's GBTC ownership down to zero, were worth close to $1 billion. So if GBTC actually had outflows of $2 billion, then half of that was FTX's, if that is the case. Bitcoin's price has tumbled since the ETFs were approved, a stark juxtaposition against the high hopes people had before the SEC. Okay, we talked about that already. And like many large crypto trading entities, FTX capitalized on the disparity between the price of Grayscale Grayscale Trust shares and the net asset value of the underlying Bitcoin fund, which I explained in the beginning of the article. And to see the precise numbers here, FTX held 22.3 million in GBTC, valued at 597 million as of October 25th, 2023. So the value of FTX's GBTC holding rose to around 900 million based on the first day of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF trading in MYSE. So you're looking at a scenario where $1 billion got basic forced onto the Bitcoin markets. Now, Bitcoin is maybe $1 trillion-ish asset, something in that order of magnitude. So it would seem like a relatively small amount wouldn't be able to push the price, but you have to understand Bitcoin is owned by a lot of people who are not selling. People treat Bitcoin like a religion. They're not interested in letting go of Bitcoin, so it's a relatively thinly traded asset. If you have something that, say, 90% of people are not selling, then instead of, it basically multiplies the impact of any sale on it by times 10. And while a regular person selling $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 worth of Bitcoin might not make that big of a difference, $1 billion probably would. So let's go to the charts to see what I think might happen in the days to come with Bitcoin. And I pretty much called this out. You can go through my videos in the last week or two, and Bitcoin has pretty much done what I said it was going to do. And at this point, it has dropped out of this months-long consolidation, right? So there's a consolidation going back to the beginning of December here, really defined as of December 10th, but you could say before that. And it finally dropped out, and it has closed on the daily. We're looking at basically the daily chart here. It attempted to head down, and then it actually broke upwards and finally broke out of this consolidation, right? So it bounced where everybody else wanted to sell, and then it came down. And I might have taken a short, except I was asleep when this happened. There was a good opportunity to short right about here and grab this profit. So what happens next? Okay, so Bitcoin right now, as of this morning, has a fair amount of liquidity sitting right at about 38,000. So liquidity basically is on the leveraged exchanges, where this blue line is right there. On these leveraged exchanges, a lot of people's stop losses are sitting right there for people who went long. And there's more liquidity pretty far down below. We're not going to worry about that right now, but I can tell you the charts favor a move down, and I think Bitcoin in the next, hours to day or two is going to reach, again, 38,000. Now, if we go back a little bit in time, we can see there's a lot of price action that happened between 35,600 and this sort of 38,200. A lot of bouncing around, and where there was a lot of bouncing around, there tends to be a lot of liquidity, even if it can't necessarily be seen on the charts because it's people who are just watching the charts. They don't have orders on, but they're planning to make moves in that time because things happened before and they think things will happen again, and that's just kind of how that works. So as of right now, I think the price will dump into this area, and quite possibly we might see an extended consolidation here. And as that consolidation happens, if that consolidation happens, I will be ready to let you know what I think is going to happen next. So please, like I said before, like, subscribe, follow, all those things. Hit that notification bell if you're watching this on X, follow my account, and I will put more videos out as I see what's going to happen with Bitcoin, at least what I think is going to happen. And hopefully we'll see you over at algofactory.tech. Come on over, trade your job, upgrade your life. Catch you on the next one. All right, hope you enjoyed the show. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. On the screen there, you can see our website, algofactory.tech. Tap that QR code to take you straight there. I'm also very active on X. That's algo_factory777. We got TikTok and Rumble. In the meantime, we hope to see you over at the website. Come on over, trade your job, upgrade your life. We'll see you there.